What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Face Mask Fantasy. I had this past weekend off, but am back, ready to roll. Ready to talk shop ahead of week 3 today. And of course, hopefully everybody did all right after week 2. Obviously, 2-0 is most ideal. 1-1 is perfectly fine. 0-2, not the start that you wanted, but we've got, 13 more weeks before the fantasy playoffs. So, plenty of time to right the ship if that is your situation. We'll take a temperature check around the NFL. Latest injury news. We obviously don't have any practice reports yet. That will start flowing in tomorrow. And then, of course, as always, AMA taking your questions. I would love to send the link to my Discord, folks, but Discord is refusing to work for me right now. See if I can pull that up. In the meantime, let me pull up what's been going on across the NFL over the past couple of days. There's not too many news and notes yet. But we can talk shop on any updates that we got today. Again, some potential waiver wire priorities ahead of week 3. If you're thinking about dropping somebody on your bench, either somebody who is injured, whether you have an IR spot available for them or not, or just a general underperformer through 2 weeks and you want to grab somebody who's been performing at a higher level that is still available on waivers, we can get into all of that. So I'll give a general thought process on some of my favorite waiver wire options, and then, of course, whatever your specific scenarios are. We'll get into it. Man, Discord is not working. That is frustrating. I was just in there earlier today, and then, of course, naturally, I did not drop the link for my Discord friends. Let me, I'm going to do this on my phone really quickly. I see some of my members popping in here. What's going on, Bobby? What's going on, Nino? Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Hopefully we got some dubs last night. And, of course, hello to everybody out there. Hopefully your weekend went well and the start of your week as well. Okay, yeah, Discord is straight up. This is probably a me problem and not a Discord problem. If I were to guess based on how effective my technology is these days. While I share the link to my Discord, folks, just a reminder. Let's see. As I move through AMA, members will get first priority in getting questions answered and comments responded to. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. You can find more details about memberships in the first link in the description of this live stream and all videos and streams on the channel. If you are not a member, but you send a super, that would also be a line jumper and a way to get your question answered in priority order and responded to faster. I will also get a little bit more in-depth on member questions and supers. If you are a paying customer, you deserve a little extra as a show of thank you for your support. So I'll make sure to do that. If you are not a member and don't send a super, that is okay. I will still answer questions, maybe not as thoroughly, and it will come after member questions and super questions are responded to, regardless of when I receive those. Whether or not you are a member, if you are enjoying the stream, the engagement, the dialogue, the conversation, all that good stuff, whatever term you want to use, if you could just like the stream, that helps me out for algorithm purposes. Appreciate that in advance. And then I'm just dropping a link for my Discord friends. All right, there we go. Okay. Let's see. Let's get into the fallout from this weekend. What happened today? Joe Burrow was placed on injured reserve. No surprise there after, it was looking initially after Burrow suffered the ankle injury against the Jacksonville Jaguars that he could return to the game. He didn't initially go to the locker room. He was walking under his own power, and then ultimately he did end up going to the locker room. But before he was able even to get there, he needed help walking. He was walking on his own at first, then needed some help with the trainers. Long story short, as it turns out, not only is he going to go on injured reserve, but we're expecting Burrow to miss at least 3 months with what was ultimately determined to be turf toe. It looked like it could be an ankle injury at first. Now it's been determined that it's turf toe. Burrow probably out. He's going to miss the rest of this month. He's going to miss all of October. He's going to miss all of November. The, optimistic timeline potentially for a return for Burrow is December. And then, of course, that means that the Bengals need to stay in contention long enough for it to make sense for Burrow to come back and return to the field. The extra playoff spot, the 7th team in each conference making it each year, naturally increases Burrow's chances of returning if this is in fact not a season-ending injury. But that's anybody's guess right now as to as how likely it is that Burrow returns. Downgrades all across the board. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown. You're keeping all of them in all likelihood, unless you can sell without losing any type of value. I would imagine that anybody tries to send an offer out there to, if you have Jamar Chase, if you have T. Higgins, if you have Chase Brown, somebody may try to be getting pennies, send you a deal where, they're offering pennies on the dollar compared to what the true value is for those guys. It's hard for me to justify making any such moves. If you can get 1-to-1 value for those guys in a situation as if Burrow wasn't hurt, then okay, fine. If you don't want to deal with a Jake Browning-led offense for 3 months, if you're 0-2 and you can get a bag for Jamar Chase, but it needs to be a damn good return, not a discounted return just because Burrow is out. Just because Burrow is out, and it is a big loss. Chase is still one of the 1 or 2 or 3 best receivers in the game. Still had a 14 catch, 160 yard performance. We're not selling Chase at a discount just because Burrow is gone. And I would say the same thing for T. Higgins and Chase Brown as well. These are upper echelon weapons. They will help each other. They will help their quarterback. They will help their offense. I do not want to sell low on these pieces just because Burrow's out. And it is a big loss, but these are big-time players that we drafted high. So I want to continue to believe in them as long as I possibly can. Aaron Jones went on injured reserve earlier today with a hamstring injury that he suffered on Sunday night against the Atlanta Falcons. So he will miss at least the next 4 games. Cam Akers in a corresponding move signed to the Vikings practice squad. So for the 3rd straight year, Akers ends up with Minnesota. Jordan Mason will assume lead back duties for the next month for the Minnesota Vikings, who will also be without J.J. McCarthy for at least this week in Week 3 against Cincinnati. The aforementioned, 2 teams without their starting quarterbacks. Of course, Cincinnati's quarterback is going to miss a lot more time in all likelihood than Minnesota's. So that matchup, unfortunately, has lost a decent amount of appeal this week. But nevertheless, Jordan Mason assumes an RB1 role. He is an RB1 for fantasy, at least as far as projections go, going into Week 3. No less than top 15. If he is on your bench and you were waiting on him, there is no need to wait any longer. Jordan Mason should be in your starting lineup for at least the next 4 games. I am not sure who is in your starting lineup, but in all likelihood, it makes sense to pull somebody out to put Mason in unless you are absolutely stacked and loaded at the running back position. If you have Bijan Robinson and somehow in the late second, Jonathan Taylor fell to you and those are your 2 running backs, then okay, fine. Don't put Jordan Mason in your starting lineup. I would say almost any other scenario, though, we want to get him in there. A couple more injuries for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after Monday night. Oh my gosh. It was their right tackle. Blanking on his name, but he avoided a serious injury, but we're expecting him to miss multiple weeks. This is a team that's already without Tristan Wirfs, although it sounds like he's getting closer to a return. The Bucs offensive line is not in a good spot right now, but I think you need to kind of weather the storm. If you have Baker Mayfield, you have Bucky Irving, you have Emeka Egbuka, you have Mike Evans. I think Wirfs is close to a return. That will make things better for Tampa's offensive line. But it's possible that they're not firing on all cylinders for an additional period on top of the start of the season when we knew going in that Wirfs was going to miss a little bit of time to start the year. Okay. There's not too many more recent news and notes that we don't already know about that we haven't had an opportunity to dissect over the past 48 hours. So I can move on to waiver wire thoughts, and then I will get into questions. Waivers this week. There's quarterback options. There's Daniel Jones. There's obviously Jake Browning. For the deeper leagues, Daniel Jones being in all likelihood the top priority at quarterback this week. If you have Joe Burrow, if you have J.J. McCarthy, if you have Justin Fields, right? Justin Fields is in concussion protocol. His availability for this week is in serious question. Generally speaking, when a player suffers a concussion, it's almost a guarantee that they miss the following week. They would need to go through a remarkable sped up recovery timeline in order to get cleared to play the following week. I would assume Justin Fields is not going to play this week. Tyrod Taylor probably draws the start. We'll obviously see what happens on Wednesday and Thursday with practice. But if Fields misses practice on Wednesday, I would go ahead and assume that he's already ruled out. We need to see an accelerated timeline to recovery for something like a concussion. If you miss practice on Wednesday with a concussion, I'm going to go ahead and assume there's about a 95% chance from that point that you are not going to play that week. So if you've got Jaden Daniels, he may miss week 3 with, I believe, was it a knee sprain? I want to make sure I have that correct. Yeah, they picked up a knee injury, took a lot of hits in that game on Thursday night against the Green Bay Packers. So Daniels is potentially going to miss week 3, even though he's got a little bit more time to turn around and get ready with the Commanders having played on Thursday this past week. So Joe Burrow, J.J. McCarthy, Justin Fields, Jaden Daniels. If you have any of those quarterbacks, Daniel Jones is probably your primary target on waivers this week. He's been excellent through 2 games. But if Daniel Jones happens to not be available and you need a quarterback, let me know who's available to you, and we can take a look at that. At running back, I don't really know how many options there are. Maybe Najee Harris. It was a bad night last night for Amari and Hampton. Did not have a good performance toward the end of the game. The fumble was ultimately credited to Justin Herbert, but it really looked like it was on the rookie running back. And regardless of whether it was truly Hampton's fault or not, he was immediately taken out of the game for the next series. It was the very end of the game, so there was only one more series that the Chargers had after that fumble. But obviously, to the surprise of nobody, Najee Harris is the one who took those opportunities. Najee appears to have two working eyes. After all summer, reports being that this eye injury suffered on the 4th of July was going to potentially hamper Harris, and those concerns rose with the lack of opportunities and time that Harris was practicing in training camp. Doesn't appear to have been that big of a deal. Harris played week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs in Brazil, didn't play much. That wasn't really a shock given all of the missed time from camp. It honestly was a little bit more of a shock that he suited up at all. Not only did he suit up week 2, but he saw an expanded role. Hampton didn't have a good game. It was icing on the cake in a bad way, was the fumble at the end of the game. I would imagine Najee Harris, in the short term at least, we're probably back to what, a 50-50 split for Najee Harris and Amari and Hampton at least. So if you're looking for some running back help, I guess I would say Najee Harris. But I don't know that there's too many other options available on the waiver wire at running back. At wide receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson had a really good game. Troy Franklin had a really good game. I can't imagine Quentin Johnston is still available after his week 1 performance. He had a nice, another bomb for a touchdown catch last night. He would probably be the top priority for me if he happens to still be available in your league on waivers. But if he isn't, Troy Franklin had a really nice game. Aya Manor, the Titans rookie, had a nice game. It was a little fluky. I don't want to call it fluky and take away from the performance, but Cam Ward's touchdown was so insanely ridiculous. He was rolling to his right, collapsed pocket. He was rolling to his right. He was scrambling around. He was looking for something. He threw way across his body, going left to right to the other side of the end zone. Aya Manor happened to be there, made the catch. It was a spectacular play from the sense that it happened. But we all know the mantra, right? Generally, with quarterbacks, it's a bad idea to throw the ball across your body, from one side of the field to the other. Those generally end poorly. Those throws generally end poorly. Your best case scenario often is an incomplete pass, and it's not uncommon for the defense to pick it off. It worked out for the Titans this time around, and Aya Manor did pretty well, otherwise. But Calvin Ridley is not dominating targets in a way that I thought he might through 2 games. That's not to say that that's going to stay the same. Again, 2 weeks is still a very small sample size. It's easy to overreact after week 1. It's even easier to overreact after week 2 because now we have a 2-week sample size instead of a 1-week sample size. There's still a lot of time for the season to play out and for things to kind of even out, so to speak. But nevertheless, Aya Manor has severely cut into Calvin Ridley's target share, or what maybe we expected his target share to be. So those are some wide receiver options that you could take. Kayshon Boutte, did he have more than the 16-yard touchdown? I don't remember if Boutte had another catch. I missed a chunk of that game, to be honest. It was not an ideal. I was not an ideal viewing distance from where. Yeah, okay. He had just the one catch, but it was a 16-yard touchdown. I mean, what was his snap share? 72%. So, I mean, sometimes it's not about. A lot of times it's about the results, but sometimes it's not about the results. Sometimes it's about the nitty-gritty. And a 72% snap share for Kayshon Boutte is the significant number here that I want to focus on, and not necessarily just the fact that he had one catch. And that one catch was a touchdown. He has a role on this Patriots offense. Stephon Diggs might be cooked. And, everybody else here, Demario Douglas, nice player, not great. Matt Collins, nice player, not great. Kyle Williams, Efton Chisholm, these guys are rookies. They're going to take time. Boutte is a third-year player at this point. You could take a shot on him. Romeo Doubs, You could take a shot on him. Jaden Reed, broken collarbone, right? He's on injured reserve, going to miss at least 4 games. So you could take a shot on Romeo Doubs. The Packers' passing offense looks pretty good. There's some options there at wide receiver. And then at tight end, Juwan Johnson if you need immediate help. Isaiah Likely if you could use a stash for the future. And then, of course, if Harold Fannin happens to still be out there, now might be your last opportunity to scoop him. So, Daniel Jones at quarterback, Najee Harris at running back. In no particular order, it's flavor of the month or flavor of the week. Romeo Doubs, Wan'Dale Robinson, Troy Franklin, Alec Ayamanar. Who else did I just mention? Kayshon Boutte. Take a shot at any one of those wide receivers if you could use a wide receiver help. And then at tight end, again, Juwan Johnson if you need immediate help. Isaiah Likely if you're willing to be patient and wait a couple more weeks. Okay. That does it for just general thoughts on waivers. Let's get into questions. I already did my spiel at the top. If you are new, welcome for the first time. If you have been here before, welcome back. Again, I get to member questions first. Member questions and supers, I get to those first and then everybody else. So if you are not a member and you haven't submitted a super, that is okay. I will answer your question, but I do ask for some patience as I get to member questions as the priority. I don't know, Bobby, that Wicks is Love's favorite target. I think, the Packers offense is a classic. They're going to spread the ball around, but targets are going to be obviously a little bit more consolidated now in the absence of Jaden Reed. The guy that I remember him gassing up the most over the summer is Romeo Doubs. So I think it's a little bit of musical chairs as far as the Packers receivers go. They have a lot of good, not great players. And I don't mean that as a slight. They have good wide receivers, but there's no alpha there, at least not yet, not right now. So, it could be Doubs one week. It could be Matthew Golden another week. Matthew Golden was this close to making a big play on Thursday night against the Commanders. I think that the throw was just a little overthrown just a bit. And Wicks could have his day in the sun here and there. So it's anybody's guess. And then, of course, Tucker Kraft is a clear-cut tight end one. So we'll see how things shake out over the coming weeks. The drop-o-meter, I like the phrase. As far as Algier, Najee, Golden, Judy, you're not dropping Judy or Sutton, that's for sure. And I don't think I would drop Algier either. Algier, he has a more significant role than what maybe the depth chart may or than what the box score may actually indicate. He had 80 total yards and a touchdown. Tyler Algier was a rock-solid RB2 on the week. And the Falcons love to run the football. Of course, Bijan is going to be the primary guy, but Algier is incredibly valuable. He is must keep if you have Bijan for the handcuff purposes. And honestly, I think he's worth holding if you don't have him. There's going to be weeks where he's an RB4, and then there's going to be weeks where he puts up RB2 numbers. I would say give it a couple of weeks. You may find yourself starting a guy like Tyler Algier. The turnover at running back is rapid and quick, and things snowball quickly at that position. I would hold on to Algier. And then if Najee is available, I want to find a way to get him on my roster. It's a matter of, who else is potentially expendable for your team. Maybe Golden, but I don't really want to give up Golden. He was this close to making a big play. I don't want to give up on him. As far as, and I'm sorry you're 0-2, as far as start-sit questions, These are tough to answer. We don't have, and this goes for everybody. If you have asked to start, I have not looked at the whole chat yet, but if you've asked to start sit question, I would say come back later this week if you can. Thursday, I will have a live stream ahead of the Thursday Night Football game, and then I will have start sit question live streams on Saturday and Sunday. We just don't have practice reports yet. And, somebody that could conceivably be healthy right now or that we think is healthy may actually not be. This happens all the time. Somebody shows up on the injury report on Wednesday or Thursday, and it was not something that we were prepared for earlier in the week. So, and then all of a sudden we find that we have to course correct off of what we maybe were planning to do on Monday or Tuesday. I mean, a high level thought here would be, Jacobs, Kamara, Javonte, and then you play Justin Jefferson and Tet McMillan. Like, that would be play the first 3 running back names and the first 2 wide receiver names that you have. Justin Jefferson, obviously not off to the best start. We'll see how he does with Carson Wentz. I do not think you can give up on your first round pick just yet. You can't bench him just because JJ McCarthy went down. McCarthy has only been okay. Outside of the fourth quarter against the Bears in week 1, he hasn't been great. So who's to say that Carson Wentz is that much worse for Justin Jefferson right now? I think you start those first 3 names at running back and those first 2 names at wide receiver, and we'll course correct later in the week if we have to. And I would stash Rashee Rice. I'm not dropping Rashee Rice. If you drafted him, you knew what you were getting into. I did it myself in multiple leagues. We're not going to have him for the next 5 weeks. That's okay. We are waiting on him. We drafted him with a purpose. Don't drop him. Even if you're 0-2, don't drop him. Yeah. If you have Rashee Rice, hold the line. Hold the line. Even if you're 0-2, hold the line. And then as far as defenses for week 3, Seattle looks good. Their pass rush has been really strong. I believe they play New Orleans this week. So, I want that. Atlanta. Who does Atlanta play? They had a great pass rush on Sunday night against the Minnesota Vikings. Atlanta gets Carolina. That's a favorable spot. The Panthers had a decent day on offense, but I'd be willing to bet that the Falcons pass rush, if they can get home against a good Vikings offensive line, they can get home against the Carolina Panthers offensive line that just lost 2 starters to injured reserve. Seattle and Atlanta are the first 2 defenses that come to mind for me as far as streaming options for week 3. The Chargers are totally fine. They look excellent, so I have no problem with them. Somebody may be shelling out a little bit more to get them. It's also not an obvious play against the Denver Broncos, but at least it's a home game for LA, so you could do worse. I don't know that I want to play the Vikings with a backup quarterback, with Carson Wentz running the offense on the other side of the ball. And I get the appeal for the Vikings. They're playing Jake Browning, but Jamar Chase is healthy, T. Higgins is healthy, and Chase Brown is healthy. So I'm not dying to play the Minnesota Vikings defense. I would say Seattle and Atlanta, and this goes for anybody. If you're looking at options on defense to stream, Seattle is a good one, and Atlanta is a good one. The Chargers are fine too, but you may have to bid more for them after their performance last night. Okay, keeping it moving through member questions. Again, I see everybody's questions. If you are not a member, I will get to your question. I just ask for some patience. If you would like to become a member and get your questions responded to a little bit faster, those details are in the first link in the description of this live stream. All right, where am I at? Oh, yes. Hopefully we did all come out with dubs last night, Nino. You did a trade that sent Tyreek and ETN for Chase Brown and Jacoby Myers. Okay. I mean, Tyreek had 6 catches for over 100 yards. So he kind of got right week 2. Obviously, he's still a ticking time bomb. So if you're worried about Tyreek Hill on a bad Dolphins team, I can hardly blame you. If you want to move off of him, that's fine. You sold high on ETN to get Chase Brown. That might be a push. I like getting Chase Brown because of how talented he is. Obviously, there's a bit of a downgrade with the Bengals offense now with Burrow missing time until December. And ETN has been racking up the points. But again, if you want to move off of Tyreek, potential ticking time bomb, I understand. You got a solid receiver in return to Jacoby Myers. Uh-oh, I lost my... Hold on. Coming back. There we go. Sorry about that. So every now and then you got to fix technology because it doesn't always work properly. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it, Nino. I'm all right with it. I would maybe want somebody else other than Chase Brown for ETN right now, just because ETN has been really, really good to start the season, and I love Chase Brown, but obviously this offense took a major hit with Burrow. But you want to move off a potential volatile player in Tyreek Hill with negative vibes, that's fine. That's okay. As far as your number one priority, and Ramondre is available, it depends on what you need. I guess I would say I guess in general I would say Ramondre, because Ramondre is more widely rostered regardless of team need. And right now, he's the primary option for the Patriots in the backfield. TreVeyon Henderson made a couple of mistakes, a couple of errors in pass protection this past week, and it cost him opportunities, and Ramondre was the one getting in there and taking them. So you have to imagine for at least the short term, Ramondre is going to continue to be the 1A until TreVeyon Henderson shows all-around improvement in his game. That includes pass protection. We know he can be explosive with the ball in his hands, but he needs to be able to be in there. He needs to be able to get in there and act and properly chip and hold up against blitzing, defensive backs, all that good stuff. If he's not gonna hold up in pass protection, he's not gonna see the field on passing downs, and that severely reduces his value as a pass catching option out of the backfield. I would say, after thinking about this, I would say Ramondre, even if wide receiver is a bigger need for you, because I think Ramondre is just a more valuable piece right now in a vacuum than Troy Franklin. Franklin had a great game, but Cortland Sutton had a game to forget. That's not going to happen that frequently. So I guess, when it comes to Franklin, perfectly fine to take a shot on him, but how many times is he going to have that good of a performance, and how many times is Cortland Sutton going to have that bad of a performance? I'm willing to bet not that often. So I'll say Ramondre. Is the priority pickup. Rojo, that's tough, man. Caleb had a decent... Well, Caleb wasn't that good. He had 2 touchdowns. Gino had Gino was making me so mad last night. Oh, man. 4 turnovers, some horrendous decision-making at the end of the game. Oof, he was bad. He was really bad. And then Penix, had 100 yards passing on Sunday night. The Vikings have a good defense, but yeah, not a good performance from Penix. I guess Rojo, Caleb Williams is your number one option in the interim. The Burrow injury sucks. Burrow's career arc right now, is real unfortunate. I feel like we need Burrow to just become a full-fledged villain at this point. And I don't know. I don't even know what I'm alluding to at that point, but just get out of Cincinnati, man. Maybe that's what I'm alluding to. I get it. Jamar Chase is awesome. T. Higgins is awesome. Chase Brown is awesome. That offense, it's not awesome, that offensive line. It's the Bengals offensive line is doing this to Joe Burrow's career. It's shrinking it. It's making it smaller. Like, I don't want to overreact, but we might have. I don't want to overreact, but we seriously may have like an Andrew Luck 2.0 situation going on brewing in Cincinnati. That is how bad the Bengals' offensive line is. Burrow has suffered, 3 season-ending injuries across 3 different seasons now? With bad offensive line play. I mean, I hope that this is me just like having a random thought and it being nonsense ultimately. I would love for that to be the case. But like Joe Burrow is like, we've got Andrew Luck 2.0 developing here. Sensational player, fantastic individual player, great quarterback. Horrendous offensive line, horrendous environment overall around him. I hate it. I hate it. But I guess Caleb Williams is your best bet moving forward. Until December at least. Rest of season rankings: Golden, Franklin, Wandale, Iamanor. That's difficult to say, Bobby. I mean, Franklin, Wandale, and Iamanor were not drafted in shallow leagues, 10 and 12 team leagues. Golden was, with a lot of with high potential, high expectations, the team's first round pick, good offense, good quarterback in Jordan Love, and it hasn't necessarily materialized through the first 2 weeks of the season. However, Jaden Reed is now going to miss time, so, increased opportunities for him. I think I would still rank Golden first, because he was so close to a big play. And obviously so close doesn't score fantasy points for you. But he's out there. He's involved. What was his snap share, Golden's? I would probably say Golden and then Iamanor, because Iamanor's target share is rock solid right now. And then it's like a toss-up. It's a coin flip any given week between Franklin and Wandale. Franklin is behind an alpha in Cortland Sutton. Wandale is behind an alpha in Malik Neighbors. They'll both have their weeks. They're both solid players. But they might be a little hot and cold. I would say Golden and then Iamanor in that order. And again, I know Golden hasn't done anything yet, but he was not too far off from a big catch for a bomb. So I'm willing to not give up on the talent just yet. He only played 60% of the snaps on Thursday night, but that was an increase from week 1 for Golden. And then how much time is Jaden Reed going to miss? I mean, it was like a fractured collarbone, right? Or clavicle. 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah, I'm not giving up on Golden yet. I will say Golden, Iamanor, and then honestly, Franklin and Wandale are a coin flip. Okay, I see a couple more questions from Nino. I see Fortune join me. What's going on, Fortune? Good to see you. Again, for anybody who is just joining, welcome in. I will get to your questions, but I get to member questions first. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. I will get their answers or questions to their answers to their questions in priority order, and then I will get to everybody else. I see your question. Hang tight. Appreciate your patience. Would I send Pacheco and Dak for Hurts? If you want to get rid of Pacheco, that's fine with me. The Chiefs' running game has absolutely zero burst right now. And again, I want to stay consistent. I don't want to, when I say I don't want to overreact one way or another, just 2 weeks into the season, I want to stay true to that in all scenarios. But it's fair to be concerned about the Chiefs' run game and specifically Isaiah Pacheco. He did go up against 2 good defenses to start the season. The Los Angeles Chargers have a really good defensive coordinator and a good defense overall in general. And then the Eagles got Jalen Carter back. Their run defense is significantly better with him. All told, Pacheco saw 50% of the snaps week 1, 58% of the snaps week 2, and he didn't do anything either week. Kareem Hunt is taking carries. We'll see if Rashard Smith gets a little bit more involved moving forward. You would think Pacheco has a little bit more of a role through the early portion of the season with no Rashee Rice, no Xavier Worthy at the moment, and Travis Kelce appears to be on a solid downward slide right now, but it hasn't really materialized yet. So if you could use a tight end like Jawan, or if you want to get a guy like Hurts who has QB1, like top 5 QB upside for fantasy any given week, that's fine. I don't know if I want to do Pacheco and Dak for Hurts. I quite like Dak's volume rest of season. The Cowboys defense is not good, and the Cowboys offense is good. Well, the skill position players are anyway. Dak would be my current favorite without looking at the current numbers to lead the league in passing yards. I mean, Justin Herbert is maybe the current favorite. He's on an absolute tear right now. But Justin Herbert plays on a team with a good defense. Dak doesn't. I would think Dak's numbers continue to stay high, and there's going to be games where Justin Herbert doesn't need to do as much throwing the ball because his defense is really good. So maybe I don't do the 2-for-1 necessarily, or if it's Pacheco and Dak for Hurts, at least get a depth running back in return to balance things out. Yeah. At least make it a 2-for-2 swap and get a depth running back in return. What's going on, E111? Good to see you. All right, Fortune has a scenario. I love Galaxy Brain questions. Do you grab Danny Dimes to counter? So I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop right there. When it comes to countering moves in fantasy, I get it. I've done it. We've all done it. We're thinking ahead. It's like, this is my way of protecting myself against my matchup this week. And not giving somebody an opportunity to potentially stack up on a quarterback wide receiver stack or a quarterback running back pairing that is playing well right now. I get it. I guess for me, if you're not going to start the player, then my answer to your question is another question. Do you really want to spend a lot of FOB or a top waiver priority on a guy that you're not going to play in week 3 of the regular season? If it's a playoff matchup and this is like you have no other moves to make and you're just playing defense against a guy that you're going up against in the semifinals, okay, fine. Splurge away. But it's week 3. Your FOB is incredibly valuable still, even if you're in a bad, if you're 1-1 or 0-2, obviously nobody wants to be 0-2, but it's still so early. The ship can be righted, and all you need to do is win a couple of games, even just win this week, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, I'm off the schneid. There's so much time left. I don't want to play defense this early at the expense of using FOB or a top waiver claim on a guy that I'm not going to play, on a guy that I'm not going to use. If you're going to pick up Danny Dimes and start him, your intention is to start him because you have Joe Burrow, you have Justin Fields, you have Jaden Daniels, who may miss this week's game. You have J.J. McCarthy, who is guaranteed to be out this week. Okay, fine. Go get Danny Dimes. Spend money because you're going to play that guy because you need him. There was an injury to your quarterback, and now you need a guy. Okay, fine. Of course. Spend your FOB. Spend your top waiver claim to pick up a dude that you're going to need this week. I'm not huge about picking up a guy just for the sake of playing defense because after this week, it's over, and then maybe it was worth it, but maybe it wasn't. And then you burned a top waiver priority and or used up a chunk of your FOB for a guy that you're not even going to play this week, and maybe potentially you're dropping next week anyway. No, I want to help myself and pick up a player that I think can help my team regardless of my matchup this week over anything else. Worry about how do I make my lineup better, not, I'm going to block this guy I'm going to block this guy from picking up Jones, but then I'm not going to play him. You know, it could work, but it could not. You can spend a little bit of fob, and if you happen to get him, great. Spend $10 on him, and you outbid somebody by a couple of bucks with a $100 fob budget. Okay, fine, whatever. But don't drop like 15 to 20% of your fob for a guy that you're not going to play in week 3 and potentially drop anyway. E111's got a question, and then I will get to, I think I'm at the end of member questions after this one, and then I will move back up to the top of the chat. I would absolutely drop Tyrone Tracy for Byshel Tootin. I don't want to drop Golden yet. And I know Jawan Jennings caught a touchdown this past week. I don't want to give up Golden yet. If he goose eggs one more week with Jaden Reed out of the lineup, okay, fine. Like maybe we send him to waivers and we'll revisit Matthew Golden after the Packers bye week, whenever that is. But I'm totally fine dropping Tyrone Tracy for Byshel Tootin. I'm totally fine with that. Tootin is clearly behind ETN on the depth chart. But he's still the RB2 for Jacksonville with Tank Bigsby gone. And Trevor Lawrence is throwing the ball a lot to running backs with a lot of success. Go figure. Whenever Brian Thomas throws the ball to Brian, when Trevor Lawrence throws the ball to Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter, through 2 games, bad things have happened. When he throws to the running backs and the tight ends, good things have been happening. I would imagine they get that corrected in some way, shape, or form. But it's been a weird start to the season for the Jaguars offense. I would drop Tracy for Tootin. I believe they are both their team's RB2s. I think Jacksonville has a better offense than the New York Giants do. I know the Giants just put up a monster performance against the Dallas Cowboys in a loss. But they also only scored like 6 points week 1 against Washington. So, they could be a little up and down. Jacksonville has Liam Cohen, who is a play caller that I think most people at present feel good about, feel comfortable about. After what we saw him do in Tampa Bay last year, and now with the weapons that he has available to him in Jacksonville. So I trust the play calling more in Jacksonville than I do with the Giants. I guess I trust the quarterback a little bit more, even though Trevor Lawrence has been pedestrian at best. But I'll take Tootin, the ascending rookie running back, over Tyrone Tracy, who is a boring second-year player who may already have lost his job to Cam Scatabo after this past week. And they play the Chiefs this Sunday, and they maybe have the best run defense in the NFL. So I can't imagine Tracy having a big week regardless. I would pick up Tootin for Tracy. I don't want to drop Golden yet. Ask me again about Matthew Golden after week 3. The Packers had 10 days off. Jaden Reed's out. Maybe Golden can have a nice day against the Cleveland Browns, or at least show some signs of life before we completely cut ties. Okay. Those are my member questions so far. I don't think I missed any. Let me get a couple of questions starting at the top of the chat. So again, another Golden question. Do you drop Golden for Dobbs or Franklin? Dobbs is enticing. I'm not there yet with Golden. I know he hasn't done anything yet. I personally want to be a little bit more patient before I drop the Packers' first round pick this year, especially after Jaden Reed is now expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks with a clavicle injury on top of the turf toe that he's been dealing with to open the season. Give me one more week before I drop Matthew Golden. If there's another person on your roster that you want to drop to pick up Romeo Dobbs, okay, fine. If there's somebody else on your bench that's even lower for you than Golden is, okay, fine. I want to wait on Golden for one more week personally. I do not want to get rid of him yet. I'm not quite there yet. I want to keep Golden. I know it's been bad, but he is a rookie. So I want to make sure I preach some patience. Next week, if he does nothing and he goose eggs, then okay, fine, let's drop him. But 10 days off for Green Bay. They played the Thursday night game. So they have a mini bye week to readjust their game plan. Sans Jaden Reed. That could mean more opportunities for Matthew Golden. Let's give it one more week on him. This is a trade question. You were offered CeeDee Lamb and RJ Harvey for Chase Brown and Jaylen Warren. Yeah, so you would be getting CeeDee Lamb. And RJ Harvey would be a stash because right now he is firmly behind J.K. Dobbins on the depth chart. So you would be hoping for, your RJ Harvey we're currently looking at as like hopefully mid-season he turns into something. I think it's fair to say like right now, weeks 3, 4, 5, 6, and obviously we can't look that far ahead in the NFL because things change, very quickly. But I would say Harvey currently looks like a mid-season stash that we're waiting on and hoping on. CD obviously goes to immediate wide receiver 1 if you acquire him. But you'd also be giving up 2 usable running backs in Brown and Warren to make the trade happen. You do have Gibbs. So you'd have Gibbs, Charbonnet, Scatabo, Tootin, and RJ Harvey. And then you'd have CeeDee Lamb, Brian Thomas, Cortland Sutton. I get the appeal for this trade. You'd be getting the best player in CeeDee Lamb. But yeah, your running back depth is going to be pretty thin. And so that ultimately gives me a little bit of pause. I would see if you can do this trade for, I would swap out either Chase Brown or Warren and see if you can get away with giving away one of your wide receivers instead. I don't want to give up both running backs. If you can give up one of your wide receivers and one of these running backs to get CD and Harvey, then I'm a little more okay with it. But I don't think it's enticing to go for CeeDee Lamb, but I don't think I want to give up 2 starting running backs for CD and a stash running back. I would feel better if we could do a 2-for-2 where both teams are giving up a running back and a wide receiver. Yeah. I would tinker that offer a little bit. So how long before we make panic moves? We don't want to panic after. I know 0-2 sucks. Trust me. I've been 0-2 more times than I care to admit. Also, the last time I won a championship, I started 0-2 a few years ago. I started 0-2. Rallied, didn't panic, ultimately won the whole thing like 2 years ago. Yeah. So we don't want to panic just yet. I guess the question is, who are the options available to you at quarterback on the waiver wire that you can grab? What's going on, Greg? Good to see you. Let me see real quick before let me just yeah, Johnny, let me know who your quarterback options are and we can get to it. JTube, James, Surf, John, I see your questions. Appreciate your patience. Let me get to Greg really quick, and then I will go right back up. I have my spot in line, and I will get you guys I will get you guys your answers. Okay. Yeah, tough loss. Aaron Jones out for a month. And then, of course, Fields had a really bad game and then suffered the concussion. So that just added insult to injury. If you have Jordan Love, Greg, and you have Justin Fields, presumably you'll be able to stash in IR. And at this point, you might as well just plan to play Jordan Love. I don't want to play Jared. I know Jared Goff just had a 5-touchdown performance, but now he's going on the road against a tough Ravens team, a tough Ravens defense. Goff is significantly better at home than he is on the road since he became a Detroit Lion. I don't want to chase Goff's performance this past week. And the Bears usually have a respectable defense. They might suck. Their defense might be bad. Year in, year out, the Bears usually have a solid defense. They might be bad this year. So I don't want to chase the Goff 5-touchdown performance. I would rather you play Love, and then you could pick up Goff if he happens to fall through waivers. Otherwise, I would just plan to play Love, put Fields on IR, and if Browning is still available to you on Sunday and you want to grab him just for some insurance, you could pick him up. But I would be planning to just rock with Love and Fields like moving forward, assuming Fields can get cleared and come back for week 4. I would be surprised if he got cleared for week 3. And then really quickly, 6-point touchdowns rest of season. I think I would still go Fields because of the elite rushing upside. But obviously for this week, it would be Danny Dimes because Fields may not play. I would be highly surprised if Fields got cleared and out of concussion protocol 1 week after suffering a concussion. That doesn't really happen anymore. So I would still say Fields for the rest of the season, but Jones this week. You can start Dobbins. You can start Dobbins this week. They do play the Chargers, so that's a tough matchup. But it is a revenge game for J.K. Dobbins. He was an L.A. Charger just last year. So you could play Dobbins, and I am okay with you getting if Stevenson is still on waivers. He's not spectacular, and he's going to be a difficult dude to support, but he is the starter right now, and he took opportunities outright from Travion Henderson this past week because Henderson whiffed a couple of times in pass protection. So until he gets that part of his game cleaned up, Henderson's going to lose more opportunities than we expected to Ramondre Stevenson. So yes, I'm fine prioritizing Ramondre on the waiver wire. I'm not sure that we're advocating starting him yet, but he's absolutely worth rostering. And Jerome Ford is droppable. I like Sampson, but Judkins returned to the team this week. I don't think we got any. Did we get any ruling on his like a potential suspension? I haven't seen anything. So yeah, you could drop the Browns backup to get Ramondre. That's fine with me. And then we'll cross the bridge of start sit closer to the weekend. But Dobbins is certainly viable. And my panic levels on Jerry Jeudy. I mean, the Browns played the Ravens on the road. That always feels like that's a bad spot for them. I'm not super worried about Jeudy just yet. He still had 8 targets. He's cleared 50 yards receiving in both games. He just hasn't scored yet. But, you know, the schedule gets a little bit more favorable. You know, now that they have that road game against the Ravens out of the way, my panic level on Jeudy, it's like a 4 out of 10. And that might be a little high. You know, he's getting the targets, cleared 50 yards receiving both times. I know that's not spectacular, but that's consistent involvement. He'll be okay. Jeudy will be fine. I'm not too worried about him. And drop Samson for Ramondre. As far as kickers go, I gotta look at the matchups. Yeah, I gotta look at the matchups. I think Seattle's playing New Orleans, so Seattle's kicker could be solid. I don't know that I want to go after. I mean, you could go after Prater. He's the current Bills kicker. Thursday night football games generally see a lot of field goal attempts. So yeah, Prater's fine, Greg. Prater's fine to go after. That's fine. Yeah. Matt Prater's fine. If Matt Prater's available on waivers and you don't have Brandon Aubrey, I'm fine with putting a claim in for a couple bucks or a late waiver claim to get Matt Prater for anybody who doesn't have Brandon Aubrey. Just because I like betting on field goal attempts on Thursday night football. Generally, more field goal attempts take place on Thursday nights. And I might stick with Baltimore as your defense. My defensive waiver wire pickups this week would be Seattle and Atlanta. One of those two. Atlanta gets Carolina. They just lost 2 starters on the offensive line to injury. And their pass rush is much improved, appears to be much improved. Seattle's pass rush is really good. They get, I believe they're playing New Orleans. They are, and it's a home game for Seattle. I would say Seattle and Atlanta. Seattle and Atlanta are the defensive streams this week. But if you have a team like Baltimore, I know the Detroit Lions have a great offense, but the Ravens are at home in prime time, so I wouldn't be too scared off playing them against Jared Goff, who is on the road. But if you're looking for a defensive stream, Seattle or Atlanta. And no, Bobby, I'm not dropping any 3 of those wide receivers for Golden. No, I'm keeping Sutton, I'm keeping Pittman, and I am keeping Judy. Okay. Back up to the top. I don't see the trade question, so go ahead and post it, and I will it's down here. Okay. I'll skip down. And get this one because technically I saw this first. And the question was answered up at the top or higher up in the chat order. You're looking. Okay, hang on a second. You're looking to trade for Trey McBride. Well, who's your current tight end? Who's your current tight end? I mean, I don't want to. I would not trade any of those wide receivers. Your wide receiver depth is not as strong as your running back depth. And I don't really want to trade. Well, you're definitely not trading Bijan. I don't think I would trade Chase Brown unless I could get McBride plus, which is probably not going to happen. And I'm not trading Bucky. You also already have Marvin Harrison Jr., so do you really want to double dip on the Cardinals offense? Because I don't. I'm not a Kyler's not that good. Like Kyler's not that good. I don't really want to double dip on the Cardinals offense. You already have Marvin Harrison. I don't want to dip into that pool a second time. I'd be curious to know who your tight end is. Let me know who your I don't see who your tight end is unless I'm missing it. Let me know who your starting tight end is, and I can give an additional thought from there. Golden's close to being dropped. I get it. I get wanting to drop Golden. He has done nothing. I am willing to, given the situation, mini bye week for the Packers, 10 days off, and Jaden Reed being out. I got to imagine the Packers are currently working on ways to incorporate Golden a little bit more into the offense, sans Jaden Reed. I'm willing to wait one more week. and you're starting Algier over Harvey and Hampton. Yeah, that's fine. Honestly, the Carolina Panthers stink on defense. Algier had 80 and a touch. That's fine. It sucks, but that's fine. Yeah. Keenan Allen or Hollywood. I mean, without knowing practice reports yet, Keenan Allen. Give me... The Chargers' offense is awesome right now, and they are throwing the ball. Did you guys know that the Los Angeles Chargers, I think, are currently throwing the football more than any other team on a per-play basis in the NFL right now? Pretty sure I saw that chart earlier today on Twitter. The Los Angeles Chargers, the team that we all pegged to be the ground and pound, Greg Roman-led offense where they're going to run the ball, I believe is leading the league in passing plays on a per-play basis in the entire league. So, yeah, I'll take Keenan Allen. But we have a long way to go till Sunday. We have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday practice reports to get to. So we got to revisit start-sit questions later in the week. Released on Meta. I like it. Let's see. 16-team league with running back flex. How are McNichols? I mean, sure. Yeah, I mean, you're in a super deep league. So, of course, running back options are going to be tough to come by. Sure. The question here writes itself, or, the context is clear. Austin Eckler's out for the year. He's not coming back. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is an exciting but overall unproven 7th-round rookie. So, sure. As far as how much your FOB bid should be, it depends on how dire is your running back situation. Did you just lose Aaron Jones? Do you have Chase Brown, whose stock took a hit with the loss of Joe Burrow? Do you have one where you're relying on one of the rookie running backs? Ashton Genty hasn't been great. Amari Hampton's been worse. Travion Henderson hasn't been good. Name any rookie running back, they haven't been great. Do you have Isaiah Pacheco? Do you have James Conner? Maybe spend 15 to 20% of your FOB. Or are you in a good situation? Do you have Bijan Robinson? Do you have Saquon? Do you have Derrick Henry? Do you have Jonathan Taylor? Then, maybe 5 to 10%. It depends on your specific situation and how dire your need is at running back. A couple more member questions popping in below, so let me make sure I get those. How much FOB for Troy Franklin? 5 to 10%. I'm not breaking the bank. Troy Franklin had a great game. I don't want to take that away from him. He had a great game. Cortland Sutton had a no-show game. I'm just not willing to bet that happens that often. I mean, 5 to 10% of your FOB. If you have a $100 budget and you haven't spent any of it yet, if you want to throw $8 to $10 on Troy Franklin and you could really use some wide receiver depth, okay, fine. I don't know that there's not going to be weeks that Marvin Mims has those blow-up games, or the random occasional week where Pat Bryant shows up. Speaking of showing up, maybe Evan Ingram will remember that he plays football as a professional, for his professional career. Maybe he'll show up every now and then or here and there. I don't know how much I believe it, but he could show up. And then, of course, Cortland Sutton is not going to be held to like a one-catch performance every week. $8 to $10 if it's $100 budget. Something like that. I don't want to spend. I don't want to spend a ton on Troy Franklin unless it's like a really dire situation at wide receiver. And then is Keenan Allen startable over Garrett Wilson? He might be for at least this week. You know, Tyrod Taylor's a vet. He's 36 years old. He's been around the NFL for like 40 years. So it's not that I don't trust Tyrod to be able to force feed the ball to Garrett Wilson. However, Justin Herbert is a significantly better quarterback, and Keenan Allen is getting a lot of targets and opportunities right now. And this is a big game against the Denver Broncos for them, the big divisional matchup. He might be. Again, I don't want to get too in the weeds on start-sit questions. We want to hold those until later in the week when we have more definitive information from practice reports and injury updates. But Keenan might be startable over Garrett Wilson. We'll have to revisit that later this week. But if you have Nico and Debo and Keenan Allen and Ricky Pearsall, then I don't think I don't think Wan'Dale Robinson is like a priority guy for you. I don't mind taking a shot on Ayamanor, but not at the expense of those wide receivers you named. Yeah. Okay. Where am I at? Flex Jordan Mason we got to plan. So we have to plan to start Jordan Mason. Aaron Jones is on injured reserve. And the Vikings get... Who are the Vikings playing this week? Oh, the Bengals. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good matchup. The Titans, they get the Colts. That's a beatable matchup too. I mean, probably Jordan Mason, and just bank on volume. The Vikings, for all of their problems, are currently a better offense than the Titans. I have more faith in the Vikings offense than I do the Titans offense. I trust Kevin O'Connell. I trust the Vikings' current structure. Carson Wentz might not be that good, but he might also maybe be better than Cam Ward right now until Cam Ward continues to get more experience. And it's a better environment in Minnesota on offense, I think, than in Tennessee. I would take Jordan Mason. I would plan to take Jordan Mason. We probably want to plan to start Jordan Mason everywhere this week and for the foreseeable future. But yeah, Jordan Mason for sure. Over guys like Terry, over guys like Pearsall. Give me the running back with volume. Okay. I got this question again. If I'll look for a follow-up, but let me know who your current tight end is, and I can try to help. 2-quarterback league. Yeah, Daniels might be out. Purdy is probably out. Krosky Merritt is on waivers. Somebody dropped Bill. I know Bill wasn't great. Bill wasn't great on Thursday, last Thursday, but he should be rostered. That being said, well, Henderson, Montgomery, Brian Robinson, and James Conner. There is a need at running back here. And then, of course, the quarterback injuries are hurting. Ward and Rattler do not give me a whole heck of a lot of confidence. At least at running back, you can still plan to start Connor and Montgomery and maybe Henderson, even though he's a little tough to trust right now. I think I would go Browning 1, because he's going to start for the next 3 months. Mac Jones is going to start for the next few weeks, and he has a little bit more value for you because you have Purdy. But we're expecting Purdy back in the coming weeks. Burrow's not going to play for 3 more months. I would say Browning, because and on top of that, he's throwing the ball to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Chase Brown. I'll say Browning 1, and then I'll say Krosky Merritt 2, actually, because he should be on a roster. And you may not get him if you make him your second priority, but you might as well try. But I think it's fair to say quarterback is a little bit more of a need. If you have Jaden Daniels, he may miss this week. Brock Purdy's going to miss a couple more weeks. And Browning's going to start and gives you QB like additional flexibility at quarterback. And has better weapons than Rattler or Ward. Browning probably goes ahead of Rattler for me in rest of season rankings. I don't know if he's ahead of Ward, but he might be. Browning 1, Bill 2, Mac Jones 3 is where I would go. Yeah. Browning, Bill, Mac Jones. Let's see. Real quick, I got another member question from Bobby. You were just offered Jamar Chase and James Cook for Justin Jefferson and Josh Jacobs? I don't want to overreact on James Cook's start to the season, but I might take that. I mean, Jacobs is awesome. Both of those running backs are attached to good offenses. Chase obviously lost Burrow, but he still had a monster day, which is just a reminder of how awesome he is. And Justin Jefferson has just kind of only been okay. Of course, is it possible that Carson Wentz kind of unlocks him a little bit? He still had 3 for 81 on Sunday night. Like, on very limited opportunities, he still racked up 81 yards, did Justin Jefferson. I am okay with accepting this if you want to, Bobby. I am okay with it. Yeah, I'm not, I don't want to overreact on James Cook, but he is the current RB1 through 2 weeks. I might be okay with pulling the trigger on that. Okay, where did I leave off? I know exactly where I left off. I left off here. What is my take on the Eagles offense? They're not good right now. Point blank, they're not good right now. I think it's the offensive coordinator, primarily. The talent is there. A.J. Brown didn't suddenly, get bad at football. Devontae Smith didn't suddenly get bad at football. Now, I haven't seen the film yet. I don't know if week 1, the Cowboys did a pretty good job on defense, and they took a lot of things away, and so Jalen Hurts was forced to run. And that's why his passing totals were not very high week 1. They were not high yet again week 2. I'm not sure if that was much of the same, where Kansas City was taking things away, or if opportunities for big plays or just making plays in general through the air were there and Hurts missed it. I haven't seen the film yet. I haven't done any, post breakdowns just yet. So it's hard to say, whether the week 2 performance was on Hurts or if the Chiefs were just doing a good job, taking those two guys away. Whatever the case may be, the Eagles' play calling feels stale right now. It's a far cry from having Kellen Moore as your offensive coordinator. And they need to get things figured out soon, quickly, because they're not going to keep beating teams by relying on their defense to hold it down every single week and hold opposing offenses to under 20 points every single week. I mean, yeah, it's bad. If you have A.J. Brown or if you have Devontae Smith, what are you going to do? You can't trade them. You're going to get pennies on the dollar. I think you just kind of have to hope that they come through with a good performance in the next week or so, and then, and then it's decision time. Do you want to ride the wave and try to build off of potential momentum, or do you want to sell high in that moment and try to get something that you feel a little bit more comfortable about? I think we need to wait one more week before we do anything. But yeah, the Eagles' offense is it's not good right now. It's not good right now, and I think a lot of it comes down to play calling. And then really quick, Fortune, Franklin or Ironmanor? Ironmanor. The dude's racking up a 20% target share already. Franklin had a great game. Ironmanor is a rookie playing his first 2 career games, but I believe he's outsnapped Franklin both games and feels like he's more of a constant in the offense. And I know Franklin had a great game on Sunday. He played 83% of the snaps. Week 1, he played 59%. So there was a huge bump that Franklin received this past week. Ironmanor has been above 70% snaps both weeks. I'll bank on Ironmanor maybe being a little bit more consistent, at least right now. I would say Ironmanor, and then, somewhere in the 10 to 15% range. Closer to 15 if you feel like you really need some wide receiver help. Maybe more like 10 if you don't, but you just like the player and you're looking to get some depth. Yeah. Let's see. I got Greg's questions. I got Bobby's questions. Moving on down. Okay. Quarterbacks to replace Fields. Yeah. Well, actually, there's a lot of really good options here. I wouldn't be too worried about the fact that you punted on quarterback in your draft, because a lot of these guys are like, Jordan Love's a good option. Daniel Jones right now looks like a good option. Drake May looks like a good option. Lawrence and Caleb, all right, whatever. You could skip those guys if you want, but Jordan Love looks fine even without Jaden Reed. I mean, Daniel Jones has looked really good through 2 weeks. And his most recent performance came against a good Broncos defense, and then Drake May had a great game. Any one of those guys is fine. Any one of those guys is fine. I would say, yeah, Love. They are playing Cleveland this week, who have a good defense. But, the Packers have a really good offense, and they're a good team in general. Are they on the road against Cleveland? They are. Okay. So that makes Love a little less enticing being on the road against Cleveland, but he's still a viable option. Daniel Jones gets the Titans. I mean, that's nothing super scary about that. And then the Patriots, who do they get? Pittsburgh at home. That might be a tough spot. Maybe I say Daniel Jones, then Jordan Love, then Drake May in that order for this week. And I don't know that I would use the term prioritize in this case. I mean, all four of these dudes need to stay on your. I mean, obviously, see, all these guys need to stay on your roster. Ted McMillan is off to a really nice start, and the Panthers' defense is still awful. So they're going to need to be aggressive throwing the ball all season long. Yeah, I mean, Ted had 6 for 100 on 10 targets. That's excellent. In his second career game, through 2 weeks, Ted has 11 catches for 168 yards. That's awesome. That is awesome. So, yeah, he's I'd say he's pretty prioritized. Yeah, like we're hanging on to Tet for sure. I'm not even in shallow leagues. I'm not dropping Tet, and he's closer to starting than anything else if you can get him into your lineup. Yeah. Let's see. James Conner for Jordan Mason. If you're getting Jordan Mason, yes. If you're getting James Conner, no. Conner's been just okay. And he's been just okay in 2 really good matchups. Mason is now the clear-cut, bona fide starter for the Minnesota Vikings for at least the next month. So if you're getting Mason, yes. If you're getting Conner, no. Connor's been a bit of a disappointment. He opened the season with New Orleans and Carolina, and he put up usable numbers, but they were pretty pedestrian. They have 11 carries for 34 yards against the Carolina Panthers. That's bad. Like on James Conner, that's not good. Yeah, give me Jordan Mason there. If you're getting Mason, make the trade. If you are giving away Mason to get Conner, then don't do the trade. And then Greg, really quickly. Yeah, I mean, I tend to like defenses that are playing at home. Obviously, the Packers have a great defense, and they're the better team than Cleveland. So, if you could get them... If you can get the Packers, I guess I would say they're probably like the best rest of season option too on top of this week. So I guess I would prioritize the Packers. I mean, Micah Parsons is only going to play more snaps per game, not less. And even without Micah Parsons, the Packers have a good defense. So I guess I would say Packers, then Seattle, then Atlanta. But then, of course, that means you got to drop the Ravens. So as long as you can stomach that, I would drop the Ravens for the Packers. I don't know that I would drop the Ravens for Seattle or Atlanta. But I would drop them for Green Bay. Okay. Trade question. Amon-Ra for Keon Coleman, Sam Laporta. Is this a dynasty question? This must be a dynasty question because first-round picks are involved. So, Amon-Ra for Coleman, Laporta, and 2 first-round picks? So, I guess my question to your question is, are you a contender? And you would be giving up would you be giving up Amon-Ra? You'd be like, what, are you the one giving up Amon-Ra for this package? I assume you are, or I think the way it's worded. You have Andrews, you have Ferguson, you have Higgins, you have Pickens, you have Ricky. So you're giving Amon-Ra. I guess for me, are you a contender? Are you a top are you a top 3 team in the league right now with Amon-Ra? Higgins, Pickens, Pearsall, that's solid. Andrews has been bad, but Ferguson is solid. Coleman had a great week 1, had a quieter week 2, solid player, multiple tiers lower than Amon-Ra. I like Sam Laporta. He's an upgrade at tight end over what you currently have, but I don't know how much of an upgrade he is over somebody like Jake Ferguson for just this season. If you're a contender, I'm not doing this. And then here's the thing. Here's where I stand when it comes to Dynasty. If you're going to do a trade like this and you're going to try to acquire talent, or you're going to try to acquire capital, draft capital, and younger players, then blow the whole thing up. Like, trade Mark Andrews for whatever you can get. Maybe even trade T. Higgins for another first-round pick if you can make that happen. George Pickens isn't that old, so you can hang on to him. Ricky Pearsall's not that old, so you can hang on to him. If you're going to do it, if you're going to do this trade, you're probably giving up on your season. And I'm not, I don't mean to be facetious. This is like a future move, right? Obviously, because you're picking up 2 first-round picks. If you're a contender, then no. If you are looking at your team and you're thinking to yourself, I have one of the 4 or 5 worst rosters in the league and I need to blow it up and hit the reset button, then okay, fine. So it depends on where you're at. It depends on where you're at compared to the rest of your league mates. When you look at your roster, how likely is it that you're going to compete this year? I would say ask yourself that question first, and then whatever the answer is, go from there. Because Amon-Ra is a win now and a future move and a future player as well. He's still just 25. He's turning 26 in about a month. Amon-Ra is going to be really good for another 4 years. So, in fact, I would even want a 2027 first before I ask for a 2028 first. I'm not doing that trade without getting a 2027 first. Because if I'm blowing it up, I want to get a shot at Jeremiah Smith in 2027. I want more pieces of the pie taking shots on Jeremiah Smith in my 2027 rookie draft. I would need a 2027 first, not a 2028 first. And even then, I don't know if I want to move Amon-Ra. He's a top 5, right? Top 5 dynasty wide receiver without, just off the top of my head. Yeah. So. We can revisit this, though, and I'm always happy to talk dynasty for anybody who does play dynasty. Really quickly, E111 got one more question. Give the Steelers defense one more try. Who's Pittsburgh playing? The Patriots. Oh, that's right. New England on the road. I don't know that I would drop the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I would say I think I, for at least this week, prefer a team like Seattle who's playing New Orleans. Or Atlanta who's playing the Carolina Panthers. Yeah. I'll say the Seahawks. I'll say the Seahawks. Yeah. Pittsburgh has good pieces. I think they also got a little screwed by how that game went. With the Caleb Johnson gaffe. Trying to, do the kick return. It went through his hands. Went to the back of the end zone. He didn't chase after it. Seattle recovered it. I think that was a special teams touchdown, so that took points away from Pittsburgh's defense. So that was a little fluky, right? But that being said, the Saints are an offense where I think I'm going to want to chase them all season long, especially when they're playing outside of their dome and on the road. That is the case this weekend, so I'll take Seattle. I'll take Seattle over Pittsburgh this week. Yep. Okay. Brian Thomas for Ladd and RJ Harvey. If I'm getting Ladd and RJ Harvey, then sure, fine. If I'm getting Brian Thomas, then no. I'm not. Ladd has been a little underwhelming through 2 games, but he's still heavily involved, and the Chargers are throwing the ball a ton. The big games are coming for Ladd McConkey. Now, that's not to say I don't believe the big games can't be there for Brian Thomas either, but now all of a sudden he's on the injury report with a wrist injury. We don't know how serious it is. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's something. Who knows? And again, Ladd has a much better quarterback throwing him the ball than Brian Thomas does. So if I'm getting Ladd and Harvey, and I can stash Harvey and kind of wait on him to emerge in the coming weeks, yeah, I'll take that. But if I'm getting Brian Thomas, I need a running back in return to make that deal go down. And on top of that, I need a running back who is contributing now. Because right now, I feel better about Ladd than I do Brian Thomas. So I'll take Ladd and Harvey. Yeah. The Ladd and Harvey side is my preference there. Daniel Jones or Caleb Williams. So the one thing here is Caleb has the better matchup this week. He's going up against the Cowboys, who just got shredded for 34 points by the New York Giants. So that's a good matchup for Caleb Williams. The problem is, how much do you believe in Caleb right now? How much do you believe in the Bears in general? That's kind of a tough pill to swallow. Right now, it's easier to believe in Daniel Jones. He doesn't have like that tough of a matchup. It is a division game against the Tennessee Titans, but he's had 2 top 8 performances at the position in back-to-back weeks. And on the road, he's more likely to need to throw than at home. Daniel Jones through 2 games has been a top 5. He's been the QB3 week 1, and he was a top 8 quarterback week 2. Caleb was a QB1 week 1, but he plummeted to QB2 this past week, and that was even with throwing the ball or throwing 2 touchdowns and picking up almost 30 rushing yards on the ground. I think it's Danny Dimes right now. I think it's Danny Dimes. And then as far as, look, I get it, okay? Wandale had a nice game week 2, and A.J. Brown hasn't done squat. But if somebody came to me right now and said, I'll give you A.J. Brown for Wandale Robinson, I would think I was dreaming. Like, I'm going to take the swing on A.J. Brown 12 times out of 10. I don't care how bad of a start the Eagles' offense has gotten off to. I am willing to bet my money on a talent like A.J. Brown over a talent like Wandale Robinson. We can't give up. I know it's been bad. We have to believe in top-tier talent. A.J. Brown is still top-tier talent. We got to go back to the well with A.J. Brown. I'm going back to the well with A.J. Brown over Wandale Robinson for at least the next month. Wandale could have 4 straight 15-point games, and A.J. Brown could have a bunch of clunkers over the next month. It would take me another solid month before I get to the point where I'm doing, A.J. or Wandale. We have to believe in the talent. A.J. Brown is miles better, no disrespect, than Wandale Robinson. Yeah, we got to go back to the well. If the question is A.J. Brown or Tet McMillan, like, okay, fine, sure, there's a legitimate argument there right now. I can't go that far down with Wandale. Seattle defense versus Saints or the Indianapolis defense versus Tennessee. Both should be fine, but I'm going to pick on the Saints all season long. And Seattle's the home team. Dome team in New Orleans going outside in Seattle. We all know what Seattle's weather usually is, right? It's a little rainy. How's that going to be on Sunday? 25% chance of rain. That could change one way or another, no matter what. Yeah, I'll take the Saints offense going out on the road in Seattle against a defense that has had a much improved pass rush. The Seahawks, here's the thing. This isn't just targeting the Saints. I mean, it is, but on top of that, Seattle's pass rush has been really good through 2 weeks. They've been really good through 2 weeks so far. They got good pressure against the 49ers. They didn't win that game, but they did quite well. And they had a really strong game this past week against Pittsburgh. I'll take the Seahawks against the New Orleans Saints. That is, generally speaking, my stream of the week on defense this year is going to be whoever's playing New Orleans, especially when it's on the road, when New Orleans is on the road. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say the Seahawks are my stream of the week on defense. I'll go ahead and put that out there right now. Seahawks defense is the stream of the week for me. Colts have a good matchup, but I'll take Seattle at home. And then Steelers defense or Falcons defense. I mean, again, if the Seahawks are available, give me the Seahawks. But if the Seahawks are not available, then I'll take the Falcons. Yeah, I'll take the Falcons. They're playing the Carolina Panthers. That's probably the next best thing after the New Orleans Saints right now. And Carolina just lost 2 of their offensive linemen to injured reserve. I think they're out are they both out for the season? They're both out for this game. We know that. And they're probably out for the next month. So, a mediocre offensive line got worse for Carolina this past Sunday. And Atlanta, would they generate 6 sacks on Sunday night on the road, no less? Yeah, Seattle 1, Atlanta 2, Pittsburgh 3 in this scenario. Okay, I got through all of the member questions. Okay, you are on. So back to the dynasty question. You think you're on the worst side of things. Hurts, Purdy, Mac Jones. That's not bad. That's not bad either in one quarterback or super flex. Achane, Swift, Aaron Jones. Okay, running back depth is a little thin. Achane's a stud, but Aaron Jones is older and hurt. Swift is not that good. Blake Corum is getting on the field. It's more than you could say about him last year. Kyron is still the primary dude. To no surprise, he got the Rams paid him this offseason. And then Pickens, Higgins, Ricky, Amon-Ra, Hollywood Brown. So to answer your follow-up question, yes, I think Amon-Ra will be worth 2 firsts for at least the next couple of years because he is still just 25. He's going to turn 26 in October, but he's not a running back. It's not like he's only got 3 years left and then that's it. Amon-Ra should have a solid 5 years left of high-level play. If you feel like, I'm almost scared. I'm almost scared to say what I'm about to say. But if you feel like you need to blow up your team and start a rebuild, the first thing when you're playing Dynasty, generally, The first thing that should go in a rebuild is running backs. On a situation-by-situation basis, running backs are more volatile than wide receivers. Their injury rate is higher, and their shelf life is lower. So, if you're looking to blow it up and get back young players and capital, again, I almost shudder at the thought of suggesting this, but the guy that I would suggest selling high on right now is Achane. And I don't even know that I really want to do that. But just by nature of the beast and the position that he plays, he's going to have a lower shelf life likely than Amon-Ra. And his injury rate his chances of injury, just again, statistically, is higher. And Achane's a little bit younger than Amon-Ra, so I would even ask for the moon. I would ask for 2 firsts and a stud young player. Actually, a Laporta would be a good get, like a Laporta and 2 firsts, because tight ends have long shelf lives, even longer than wide receivers. So acquiring wide receivers and tight ends and selling running backs in a rebuild in Dynasty is typically the way to go. I don't feel great about suggesting selling Achane, but if I were, if I had a bad team in Dynasty and I needed to hit the reset button, the running back position is the first thing I'm trying to sell off. I do think Amon-Ra will be worth 2 firsts in Dynasty this year and next year and in 2027, because in 3 years, he's still only going to be 28. He'll be worth 2 first-round picks for the rest of this season, and he'll be worth 2 first-round picks next year as well. And on top of that, if you're playing Dynasty and you want to blow it up, this goes for anybody who's playing Dynasty. If you're looking to blow it up, 2028 is like a million years from now. Get 2027 first-round picks, because that's when Jeremiah Smith becomes available. Or presumably. That's when he'll be draft eligible. So we can talk about, I would encourage you to come back. Here's the other thing with Dynasty. You don't have to make any quick, fast decisions now. You got a whole trade deadline. You could, I know it's enticing to want to make a trade, right? Especially in Dynasty, where you either decide to put all your chips on the table and go all in, or decide to blow it up and wait for future seasons. But the trade deadline is weeks and weeks away. You can raise you can kind of almost start a bidding war, so to speak. If you're putting your high profile players out there on the table, be prepared to be patient. Let the offers come to you. Let's see where the offers are at in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now. And then on the flip side, if you're winning games, maybe the tune changes and you decide to maybe become a little bit of a buyer at the trade deadline instead. I would say wait, because you have good pieces. But if you do end up selling, I would say let's revisit this in a couple of weeks. And I don't know that I want to sell Amon-Ra. The guy that I might be willing to sell and get a huge return for, like a real big, significant return, would be somebody like Achane. So there's a lot of things that we can consider. I would say try to exercise some patience, because you have pieces that people will pay top dollar for, especially when the trade deadline gets closer, if you choose to go that route. Tyreek against the Bills or Terry McLaurin versus the Raiders. Tyreek. Jaden Daniels might not play. And if he doesn't play, Marcus Mariota is awful. That's it. And Tyreek had a nice game week 2. He had 6 for over 100. I hate, and they play Thursday night. I hate the Thursday night games. It's Shorter turnaround time, less recovery, less rest, especially for an older player like Tyreek. But at least he has Tua. And for all of the issues that Tua has, he's better than Marcus Mariota, who it looks like is going to have to start for Washington week 3, assuming Jaden Daniels can't get ready because of this knee injury. Yeah. If Jaden Daniels and again, Tyreek's not going to play. We're not going to get definitive news on Jaden Daniels before Tyreek plays. So I'd probably just play Tyreek. Okay, we're revisiting this CD trade. This was CD and Harvey for Chase Brown and Jalen Warren, which I wasn't crazy about initially. Would I do Scattaboo plus Coleman for Dobbins? No, I don't think I would. And I'll tell you why. I think Scattaboo took the job from Tyrone Tracy this past weekend. Maybe not outright. Tyrone Tracy's not just going to fall off a cliff, even though maybe he should. Scattaboo missed a ton of time, like that middle to back half of training camp. Missed a lot of time, and it was looking like, he might not, maybe he doesn't play a ton to start the season. Tyrone Tracy's been getting a lot of reps at the end of training camp, right in time for the start of the season. Maybe Tracy is the primary guy for the Giants for at least the first month, and then maybe we see That didn't happen. Scattaboo out. He got more opportunities than Tyrone Tracy just last week, just this past Sunday. It took 2 weeks for the Giants to turn to Scattaboo over Tracy, and that's with Scattaboo missing a lot of time in camp closer to the start of the season as a 4th-round rookie. So you already have Harvey. I don't know that I want to trade for Dobbins, who is an older guy, an older running back, he's on a good start to the season right now, but who's to say Harvey doesn't ascend mid-season, later in the season. And then you have Scattaboo and Harvey, 2 rookie runners, week 7, week 8, week 9. Now all of a sudden, these dudes are their clear bona fide team starters. And Dobbins and Tracy are the change of pace guys. I'm obviously not a mind reader. I'm not trying to predict the future, but rookies rise to the top way more often than boring veterans. And that's no disrespect to Dobbins. Again, he's off to a really good start to the season, but he's got a lengthy injury history, and he's an older running back, whereas Harvey is still the team's second-round investment from this past year. And then on top of that, having to add Coleman in on top to complete the deal, I say no. Because Scattaboo, in my mind, did enough where I don't know that I would do Scattaboo for Dobbins straight up right now. I don't know that I would do that. And then to have to add Coleman to it, that makes it a no for me. And I get it. You'd have the handcuff. You'd have Dobbins for RJ, and you'd have Dobbins and RJ Harvey, and you could just transition to Harvey if and when he usurps Dobbins. But I'd rather just keep Scattaboo and let's bank on the guy that you drafted, the guy that you invested in, the guy that you believed in. Let's bank on our ceiling happening, taking place. Maybe not now, maybe not next week, but in the coming weeks. And now I've got 2 rookie runners who are their team's primary options, and let's move forward with those guys. I'd rather hold. I would rather hold. All right. What else we got? We are at the end of the chat. Let's double check. I don't think we have any new updates or anything. Bills quarterback Josh Allen will probably wear a clear visor on his helmet. This is from Adam Schefter on Twitter about 40 minutes ago to help protect his nose during the team's Thursday night football game versus the Miami Dolphins. This might be old news for some of you, but I haven't been on Twitter for a little bit. Let's see. Okay. I didn't know Josh Allen hurt his nose. Okay. Something to monitor. Obviously, we're not taking Josh Allen out of our lineups if he's playing, but, you know, something to keep in mind. So we have visor Josh Allen this Thursday against the Miami Dolphins. That changes nothing. He's still QB1. At least as far as any week-over-week rankings goes. Let's see. Jalen Waddle listed as a limited participant in practice on Tuesday. That puts him on track to play on Thursday night. Darren Waller, Jalen Wright listed as limited in practice for the second straight day. I guess that means that Darren Waller and Jalen Wright could be tracking to play. These are guys that you maybe take a look at in deep leagues and nothing more. Not necessarily fantasy relevant. But noteworthy all the same. Okay. Let's see. I'm just doing a quick scroll to make sure I didn't miss any questions. If I did miss your question, please let me know, and I will make sure to follow up with you. But there is currently no wait. I don't think I missed any. Yeah, I think I got him. What to do with Charbonnet? Hold him. I don't think he didn't have a great performance this past week, did he? Yeah. Oof, 15 carries for 10 yards. But you know what? I mean, look. Obviously, that's bad. 15 carries for 10 yards is pretty brutal. That being said, you know, if there's a defense where you look at and then you think to yourself, okay, I could see that happening, it's a defense like the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Not a great day for Charbonnet. What matters, though, is that he had 55% of the snaps and he got 15 carries. He once again was not targeted. Walker, what did Walker? I know Walker got the touchdown, and he had a very good game. 13 for 105 and one catch for 13 yards. RB7 on the week, but he still only had 35% of the snaps. What a weird. The Seahawks backfield is so strange right now. I'm not what to do with Sharps. Honestly, it's depending on who your options are. Charbonnet is startable against the New Orleans Saints at home. I don't know. It depends on who your other running backs are. You know, if you have Bijan Robinson and Jonathan Taylor and Jordan Mason, then you're good. But if you have Isaiah Pacheco and Aaron Jones and Travion Henderson, and who is a question mark right now, then Charbonnet is startable at home against a bad Saints team. So I'm doing nothing. Because even though it was a terrible game for Charbonnet, he still had 15 opportunities. And played 20% more snaps than Kenneth Walker did. Walker came through on some outrageous efficiency, which is awesome. But Charbonnet is still seeing the field more than him. And now he gets a much, much better matchup at home. We'll revisit start sit questions later in the week when we have 1, practice reports and 2, injury updates. But as far as I'm concerned, Charbonnet is on the flex radar this week. His performance against Pittsburgh this past week doesn't change that for me because of the matchup and the opponent and the fact that they're at home. Charbonnet is a flexible play this week. Yep. And you have Henderson and Dylan Sampson. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who your other options are, but Charbonnet is absolutely in play this week as a potential flex option at home. If anything, if anybody in your league has Charbonnet and is panicking and wants to, is looking to get rid of him, trade your last wide receiver or your second tight end for him. You can never have too many running backs. Drop the Broncos defense to pick up the Seahawks. Yeah, I'll stop at the Seahawks. Yes. Broncos have a good defense, but they're playing the Chargers this week. I think that's a home game for Denver. I still don't want to play, generally speaking, I do not want to play a team defense against a good quarterback. I just don't. I'll take my chances with another defense who might not be as good, but they have a much better matchup. And very often this year, again, the stream of the week is on defense is going to be who's playing the New Orleans Saints and are they at home? The Seahawks, they check both. Check. They check both of those boxes. They're at home and they're playing the Saints. And then just for a nice little bonus, Seattle has a good pass rush this year, at least through 2 weeks anyway. Yeah, I'll take the Seahawks defense. Falcons are a fine second option if somebody spends a ton of $5 or a top waiver priority on Seattle. But yeah, we're picking up Seattle anywhere where, honestly, what defense do you keep this week? I don't even know. Yeah. I guess, you can keep the Ravens. The Eagles were highly drafted. I don't even know if I want to play them against the Rams. Yeah, Seattle should be picked up by a lot of teams this week and should be fired up against New Orleans. And if you miss out, Atlanta's a fine consolation prize against Carolina. You were offered Walker and JMO for Brian Thomas. You have Amon-Ra, you have Adams, and you have Ibuka. That's pretty good value. That's a pretty good offer. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that literally just 3 weeks ago, we were drafting Brian Thomas high to mid-second round. Walker and JMO, who I like, were more like 4th and 5th round picks. And now, obviously, you don't want to get too caught up in draft capital at this point because all of that is over, right? The season has started, and now it's about what happens on the field. But when we draft a player that high, that means we have super high expectations for him. And I know that they haven't materialized yet. And now he's got a wrist injury. And Trevor Lawrence maybe just isn't that good. But it's not like Travis Hunter has set the world on fire. It's not like Hunter is, oh, crap, like there's a new wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville. That's not the case. At least not yet. Like, you already have really good wide receivers. So you have Amon-Ra, you have Brian Thomas, you have Devontae Adams, and you have Ibuka. It's always enticing adding a running back in a deal where you don't have to trade one. But I don't know yet if Brian Thomas is the guy that I want to give up to make this deal happen. I would, stay with me here, would you consider countering this deal with Egbuka? And now, obviously, Egbuka doesn't have the name recognition of Brian Thomas, and it might get rejected immediately. But Egbuka is actually off to a good start. My thinking here, though, is, yes, Egbuka looks great. But will that stay the case when Chris Godwin comes back? Well, I don't know. There's nobody waiting in the wings to come back and take more targets and opportunities away from Brian Thomas. The Jags offense is what you're seeing right now for Jacksonville is what you get. With Tampa, Chris Godwin is going to play at some point this season. So, is he going to cannibalize Emeka Egbuka a little bit? I would almost counter this deal with Egbuka and see if that gets it done. And then that way I can keep Brian Thomas, who I have high hopes for and high expectations for. If you don't want to give Egbuka up, that's fine. I get it. I just am not sure that I'm ready to... I'm not sure that I'm ready to move off of Brian Thomas after a couple of lackluster performances. And even in week 1, he still got a touchdown. It was a run. So, they're manufacturing opportunities for him, Thomas. I mean, he had 12 targets. It just didn't materialize. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I want to move off Jake Browning or Jake Brown. I'm looking at waiver wires and this waiver wire stuff, and I'm looking at Brown. I don't know that I'm willing to move off of Brian Thomas just yet. It's a fair offer though. That, I will say it's a fair offer, and being able to get a running back in a deal where you don't have to give one up is enticing. It is enticing. Real quick, E1, how much FOB for a defense? I don't like spending more than 3 to 5% any given week. Obviously, for the top ad, you're going to probably need to spend, for Seattle, you may need to spend 10%. If you're 0-2, maybe you go ahead and pull that trigger. Give yourself the option you feel safest with, the option you feel most comfortable with. That would be Seattle. If you're 2-0, even if you're 1-1, maybe 3 to 5%, you could settle for Atlanta. I don't want to spend more than a few dollars on a defense unless I'm desperate. Because there's always going to be a defense that slips through the cracks and they quietly have a solid matchup, and when all else fails, I could grab them. I would say 10% on Seattle if you're 0-2 and feeling desperate. Otherwise, 3 to 5%, and then maybe we settle for Atlanta, who still has a really good matchup against the Carolina Panthers. Yeah. It depends on how much you feel like you need to make a move for the top option at defense. This is a start-sit question. So again, if you can come back later in the week when practice reports and injury updates are known and we have more information to work with, that will help finalize my answer. Because my answer, I'll take it. A start sit question the answer to a start sit question on Tuesday can so easily change over the course of 48 hours. All it takes is a random crap, this guy's questionable on the injury report. We didn't see that. That wasn't known information like 48 hours prior, but here it is now. So if you can come back, I would encourage you to. That being said, I mean, Achane's a slam dunk. Bucky and Gibbs are slam dunks. And then I would probably play Tet at wide receiver. Mason's awesome, but you have you have three really, really good running backs that you can't. Mason I want in my starting lineup, but not over Achane, not over Bucky, and not over Gibbs. And then I would probably play Tet in your wide receiver spot. Yeah. Thanks for the super, Evan. Appreciate that. Could be a sophomore slump for Brian Thomas. It is just 2 weeks, so I don't want to panic too hard on a guy that I'm pretty confident is a very, very good wide receiver and upper echelon talent in the NFL. Still just 22 years old with room still to grow even after everything that he did last year. I don't want to give up on him just yet. Yeah. Could be a sophomore slump. Maybe we're going through a little bit of a lull with Brian Thomas. He only had one catch week 1. He did have a touchdown on a run. So that was good. And then he got 12 targets. Obviously, he only turned it into 4 catches, but at least the volume is there. How many targets did Travis Hunter have? Who, again, is not exactly lighting the world on fire. Hunter played 64% of the snaps week 1, and it actually went down to 59% of the snaps week 2. Hunter on the season has 9 catches for 55 yards. It's not like, oh, wow, is Travis Hunter better than Brian Thomas? That's not the narrative here. The narrative is Trevor Lawrence has been really bad throwing the ball to his wide receivers. He's been better, go figure, throwing the ball to his running backs and his tight ends. But his 2, top flight wide receiver prospects, both of whom were first round picks in the past 2 years, he seems to be struggling getting the ball to them. To me, that's that's something that the coaching staff and that the quarterback collectively need to get cleaned up, and not necessarily. I don't want to point the finger at Brian Thomas. He still earned 12 targets this past week. And then as far as Walker, he's a strong RB2 with RB1 upside if he's healthy. The problem is Walker, he's not that old. And I don't like, I follow Edwin Porras. He's like a medical, he does medical analysis and diagnoses for fantasy points. And he's big on, players are injury prone until they're not, which is to say that injuries are random. They happen almost 100% of the time. No matter, players are going to get hurt. That's just nature of the beast. And then out of nowhere, it's possible that they, they break through. And all of a sudden, they're not, they are not injury prone anymore as their career progresses. We're obviously hoping that that's the trajectory for Kenneth Walker, but it hasn't been so far. And once again, he was dealing with, I don't know that he was dealing with anything specific, but Seattle was monitoring him and limiting him in camp intentionally to get him ready for the season. And then he balls out week 2, but he still only plays 35% of the snaps. It's like something's got to give here. Is Walker healthy for 17 weeks? Then he's an RB1. I don't know how likely that is, though. And we're not getting a ton of opportunities for him just yet. at least as far as the snap share goes. So that's what gives me a little bit of pause. Charbonnet, on the other hand, has been pretty durable to start his career. So it's like, it's a good offer. It's not a bad offer. It's just, I have some hesitancy. I have a little bit of pause. Okay. I have one more question in the chat. And then I actually do need to go. Something just came up. No, everything's all good. Nothing too bad, but I do have to pop out of here really quickly. Would I do Ridley for Kyler and Hollywood in like a one quarterback league? If I'm getting Ridley, I would ask for another piece because Ridley's been kind of pedestrian. If you are acquiring Kyler and Hollywood, then I guess that's fine for Ridley. It depends on how badly you need a quarterback. I'm not crazy about Kyler. That trade's kind of, respectfully, that trade's a little whatever for me. Ridley has, he's kind of off to a blah start. Kyler's off to a blah start. Hollywood's off to he had a nice week 1. He had a whatever week 2. That trade is kind of whatever for me. If I were getting Ridley, I would ask for a second piece. And if I'm getting Kyler and Hollywood, it's like, I guess that's fine if you need a quarterback. Okay. I got to go. Appreciate everybody coming in today and hanging out. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your thoughts, the conversation. If I miss any questions, feel free to leave them in the form of a comment on this live stream or any videos or streams on my channel. I will be back on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, hanging out ahead of Thursday Night Football, taking any start-sit questions and any other general AMA that you may have. Again, special shout-out to my members. Thank you all. Appreciate your support. And thank you, everybody in general, for coming in and hanging out today. I will see you guys on Thursday. Thanks, everybody.